Welcome to the weekly Underrepresented in Tech vlog with Michelle Frechette and Allie Nimmons. Underrepresented in Tech is a free database built with the goal of helping people find new opportunities in WordPress and tech overall. Let's dive in with this week's vlog.
Good morning, Allie.
Good morning, Michelle. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you. Happy Thursday is always better than Happy Monday.
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. Because we're almost there. We're almost to the weekend. We're so close.
Right. Yes, we are.
Drinking out of my Give WP Earth Day mug today.
Cool. Little lipstick on there.
Yes, absolutely. I gotta
it.
I gotta get one of those new big orange heart mugs that's in the shop right now.
Yeah, I have them
Shameless
both, but
plug.
they're in the office. I am home. You can tell by my background and my poor lighting that I'm working from home today. But yeah, I love my mugs, and I have not had my coffee yet, so I'm not responsible for anything I say. Just
There
kidding.
you go. Good disclaimer. I love that. We should put that at the beginning of every vlog. We haven't had coffee yet. We're not responsible for anything we say. But yeah, today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about two things that we do kind of often, not only professionally, but personally, which is calling people in and calling people out. Something I've been thinking about a lot. And so first I kind of want to, just for people who are listening, explain what those two things mean, right? So when you're calling someone out, right, you are maybe not admonishing them all the time. Sometimes it might be an admonishment, but you are making them aware in usually a public setting that something that they did was anywhere from inappropriate or insensitive to all out, racist, sexist, ableist, whatever. You're saying, hey, what you just said was wrong, was mean, was unkind, was, all these other things. Versus calling them in is like a softer way to do that. It's maybe doing it in private, doing it through a text message or a DM, or pulling them to the side and trying to explain to them what they did was wrong. And it can be really difficult to know when it is appropriate to do either one of those things. I am a little bit more of a fan of calling people out because I think that having these conversations publicly in an environment where other people can join in and see the discourse being had is really important. Like, people learn through those conversations. They learn through those examples. Like, it's almost a little heartless to say like, oh, you're making an example out of somebody. But sometimes it's a good example to see, hey, that person said this thing and I say that thing. But then this other person called them out and explained why it's wrong. And now I know why it's wrong. And I know that I don't have to do or say that thing. Whereas calling somebody in, it's a little bit safer, right? Like it maybe won't be damaging to their reputation, or it won't embarrass them, right? And I think a lot of people these days are having a hard time with the idea of, oh, well, this person said something racist and I don't want to embarrass them, so I'm going to call them in. Like, that's kind of a hard thing. I can say as a Black woman, I'm not really concerned with saving a racist the embarrassment of being called a racist in public. But sometimes somebody says something maybe just out of ignorance, or they just weren't thinking, and calling them out might be an overreaction to that instance. So it can be really tricky to know when to do which. Michelle, what's your experience? What do you think about these two ideas? How do you usually handle stuff like this?
So I'm one of the least controversial, that's confrontational. I avoid confrontation in my life as much as possible. And I think that's part of my upbringing, parents that fought constantly and things like that. And the oldest sibling trying to always make sure everybody's happy, the status quo kind of thing. So it takes a lot to move me to even address people about issues when it comes to something that's been where I feel it's an aggression against me, a micro or otherwise, based on last week's conversation. And so for me, it's like I swallow way more hurt and angst and things like that than I probably should, because I'm gonna guess that's not really healthy for me. I have for me, it's like, I guess in the past, I've been able to call out brands. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have no problem saying, like, or politicians, like
Mm.
to say, what my feelings about our former president and things like that publicly. And
A little
because
bit
when
more
some,
impersonal that way.
yeah, for sure. And that's somebody who has, it's not a personal thing. It's not against me, but that it's, I'm not going to call up the president of the United States and go, I think you said something racist, or I know you said something racist, or a brand, or, anything like that. But, person to person, I am one of those people that is just very much, um, trying just to keep people happy, and kind of hang back a little bit and say things after I feel like I've processed. So I never like just boom react immediately and do anything, because it's it's just not me to do that. I'll talk to a friend, or I'll let things fester. I'll think things through before I make a decision of whether or not to say something publicly, or even to call somebody in and have a conversation with them that way. If unless it's raising my daughter, close friend. I really don't have a problem telling somebody they hurt my feelings that way. But yeah, I guess, and part of it is just who we are, how the situation we were raised in, the age that I grew up in versus the age that you grew up in, like all of those different things. But as we were thinking about talking today, excuse me, I got to thinking about tropes that like people sometimes will call us out on, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like I was thinking about um I've never heard anybody say this about you, but I was thinking about the angry black woman, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a thing people talk about. Oh, she's just an angry black woman, or she's just a crazy white woman, cuz like you get called angry, I get called crazy, right? Like that's the way that those things happen. And that those kinds of tropes actually have roots in misogyny, and in supremacy, and in racism,
Mm-hmm.
because it tries to downplay an entire group of people's honest reactions to things.
Yeah.
So if Allie Nimmons, as a black woman, is upset about some racist person, people have a tendency to say something like, well, she's just an angry black woman. Why do
Mm-hmm.
you think she's an angry black woman? Perhaps her experiences and those of generations that came before her have reason to be angry,
Yeah.
or I start to say something about, like, maybe accessibility somewhere, and that there's a ramp into a building and then stairs. Great, good, I could get in the door, but I can't get anywhere else, and I get angry about it, and I get called a crazy white woman or an angry white woman. It's like, okay, you can call me whatever you want, it doesn't change the fact that you still have an inaccessible situation.
Yeah.
But instead of taking responsibility, you've now shifted that back on the person who has a legitimate issue. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's just some of the stuff I was thinking about when we were thinking about
Yeah.
this topic.
No, that's amazing, and language is so important to the descriptions. And yeah, I've never been called a crazy or an angry black woman to my face, but I'm sure there are people who think that of me. And yeah, I like what you said about like your upbringing and your past kind of influencing those things. Like I grew up extremely non-confrontational. I was a very shy, painfully shy child. And I think as I've gotten older, I've kind of found my voice and my confidence a little bit more, and I've realized that if I do speak up about something, the worst that will happen is someone will get upset with me, or maybe what I was talking about was wrong, and I'll have to apologize. Way worse things in the world than that. So I've started like deciding to be a little bit more confrontational
Mhm.
and making people a little bit more uncomfortable, because I think that's how people grow, right? Like
Mhm.
what's that? There's like an analogy of if the caterpillar isn't uncomfortable in the cocoon, they can't shimmy out and become a butterfly or something
Right,
silly
like their
like that,
wings won't
right?
develop. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Like I think it's important every once in a while to make people uncomfortable, and put them in the hot seat so that they will understand maybe the severity of what they've done. But at the same time, um, yeah, like I want anyone listening who wants to be an ally to know, if you are a non-confrontational person, if that isn't something that you're prepared to do for personal reasons or professional reasons, as far as, calling someone out publicly,
Mhm.
um, calling them in is a very good alternative, pretty much
Mhm.
almost all of the time, right? To reach out to somebody that you know and say, hey, that wasn't cool what you said, and here's why. That can always be done in a private setting, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot more comfortable for everybody involved. And I think also there's a what's the word? There's a word, the whisper network or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people describe that, particularly in WordPress, that there's like a whisper network where people are talking in DMs and talking to each other individually. And so more people don't know more things. That can be a problem as well. But I think that overall, it helps to make small changes with people,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps to hold people accountable. That's a good word, right, to use in this
Mm-hmm.
context, is holding people accountable for the things that they do. And so I think that if you're trying to be an ally, finding a way to hold people accountable, whether it's calling them in or calling them out, is really important.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I do want to add too is that you can be an ally and still not be comfortable with either one of those things based
Mm-hmm.
on your own previous experiences. So if I'm an ally and I don't want to call somebody out publicly and I don't want to call them in because I've had experiences where I've been physically assaulted in the past, or I fear for my own personal safety or my
Mm-hmm.
job or things like that, that even though it feels bad not to, sometimes it's okay for your own personal protection and your own, sanity and
Mental
whatever
health,
else,
yeah.
mental health, yeah, to say I'm going to take a pass today, and
Yeah.
today I'm not okay to be able to do that. So
Absolutely. And I should say too, like, this is not just, we like framing everything, I think, in the context of work and professional life and WordPress, because that's a lot of people who are listening and the
sure.
context in which people know us. But this is something that if and when you are comfortable, you can do in all facets of your life and should do, right? Like, I've
Mm-hmm.
had to call out family members for saying things that I didn't think were okay to say. Um, I was going to say an example, and I don't think that this person will listen, but I'm just not going to say the example. But yeah, I'm sure we've all had that family member
Yes.
who, at the dinner table has said something and you're just like,
Yeah.
what? That's not okay.
And you turn
Um,
and you say that's not okay. Yeah,
that's
for
not
sure.
okay. Or in your personal life, at certain, I mean, this is not as frequent now, but, say you're at a dinner with a group of friends and somebody says something that's not okay. Depending on the environment or the friend group or whatever, you can choose to say, hey, that's actually not cool to say, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can, text them later, pull them aside afterwards and say, I don't like that you said that. Let's have a conversation. It doesn't always need to be, oh my gosh, you're a racist, right? You can
Right.
have these conversations in a very gentle way, because a lot of times it's like you don't want to completely humiliate that person. You want to educate
Right.
them. That's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the main point of these conversations, is you want to explain to them why that wasn't okay. And I think the times that I call people out is when I know they know what they said wasn't okay,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm not gonna bend backwards to protect their feelings. If I see
Right.
someone say something that's comes out of a place of ignorance, I think that's when I choose to call them in, because I
Mm-hmm.
know they're maybe trying and they just made a mistake, right?
Right. Right.
So I think that's a good delineation that I make in my head of like, are they trying and they made a mistake, or are they trying to hurt people and they
Mm-hmm.
succeeded? What's the
Mm-hmm.
difference?
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody last month who honestly didn't understand why, people have the chosen pronouns that they do, and that if you're
Mm,
born assigned one sex, that you can choose to have other pronouns because that's how you identify in your personhood, right?
mm-hmm.
And so I had a long conversation with this person explaining. At the end, they said, well, I still don't understand why somebody who's, got male anatomy thinks that they're a woman. I said, well, because they are, but that's another point. Okay, I get that you're older and this is boggling, but they agreed that this person should be called what they want to be called and
Yeah,
how they feel. So, while I wasn't successful in maybe the complete understanding, at least I was able to help that person understand why it's important to respect people's pronouns. And
yeah.
so, yeah, so sometimes you move the needle a little and sometimes you move the needle a lot.
Yeah, that's a really good one. See, now that's got me thinking of how I would have explained that to them, which is a whole other vlog of the
Oh,
difference
for
between
sure.
sex and gender.
I mean, it was about an hour and a half conversation of going
Oh
around and
wow.
around and around because this person was having so much trouble understanding, but the important part was they were seeking to understand.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And
Exactly.
so and the terminologies that, I mean, this person is much older than me and I'm 52. So the words that they were using for somebody who's transgender are not words we use anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the conversation started there.
Yeah.
And then it shifted to pronouns, and then it shifted to how could somebody who's born with a penis say they're a woman? And so then we talked about, you know, the difference between sex and gender and things like that, and I did my best.
Yeah.
And basically the end was they don't want to hurt, they realize they don't want to hurt people's feelings, and that they don't have
Mm-hmm.
to understand it to respect somebody. And I
I
thought,
love
well, you
that.
know, you can't ask for better than that sometimes, right?
Yeah, that's a good ally mindset, right? You don't have to fully understand someone's experience to respect them and to respect their feelings, which
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that should be a topic for another vlog, because I've
Yeah, we should do
encountered that
that.
a lot too, right? Like encountering people who live experiences that I don't and will never understand, but
Mm-hmm.
just I respect you, and I respect your experiences, and that's the only thing I can do.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Very
Cool.
cool.
Yeah.
We always talk about the hard stuff, and I'm okay with that. And I think
Oh,
it's
Michelle,
great
I
that,
lost your audio for a second there.
oh, I'm back. Can you
I
hear
can
me?
no longer hear you. That might be something on my end, though.
Maybe. Yeah, my microphone's still recording. Anyway,
Yeah, I can no longer hear you. Oh no.
well, I will say for both of us that I'm just going to message her real quick. I'm trying to type, I'll sign off, but I typed I'll sing off, and I'm not going to sing for y'all. Um, anyway, Allie wave. And I was just saying that we definitely don't skirt around issues here. We are here to bring it and to really talk about things that that might make you uncomfortable and that sometimes make us uncomfortable, and that's okay, because what we're trying to do is make the world a safer, better place for people, and share our understandings and our experiences to help you out. Anyway, we'll see you all next week. Thanks.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with a new vlog. Until then, find us on Twitter at underreptintech. Add yourself to or search our free database at underrepresentedintech.com.